making the frequency distribution table grouped data. So this one is a bit more confusing, a bit more challenging, so I hope that you will take note of the steps. So for our example, let us say you have a list of IQ scores for the gifted classroom in Ginsai Elementary School. So the IQ scores are 118, 123, 124, 125, 127, 128, 129, 130, 130, 133, 136, 138, 141, 142, 149, 150, and 154. So all in all, we have 17 observations. So for 15 data above, we would prefer to use group data, especially if there are a lot of frequencies involved. Now for step 1, let us figure out how many classes or how many categories that we need. You can pick between 5 and 20 classes. So for the list of IQs above, we will pick 5. Make sure you have a few items in each category. For example, if you have 20 items and then you choose 5, so you will have 4 items per category. Now, if you are asking for a more mathematical way, actually there is a formula which is logarithmic. So in here, we have our scientific calculator. Find log, L-O-G. You press that one, and then you input the number of observations. In our problem, we have 17 observations, so we are going to input log 17 there, and then we divide it by log 2. Log 2 is part of the formula. Okay, so that will give us 4.0874 something. Now, with regards to the classes, if there is a decimal, you automatically round it up. Even though it's 4.08, you can see it's 4.08. However, since there is a decimal form, so we are going to round up the number, so that will become 5 classes. So that is the mathematical way. So these are the list of IQ scores. For our step 2, subtract the minimum data value from the maximum data value. So looking at our IQ list, the minimum was 118. That is the least that we can see in our list of values. Now, the maximum or the highest number that we have is 154. Now, sometimes the list is not in order, so suggest to arrange them. Okay, so we are going to subtract them. We have 154 minus 118 is equals to 36. Okay, so here in our step number 3, we are now going to use what we have from step 1 to step 2. Okay, so in here, we have the number 36. We got that from step number 2. We divided it with 5, the number of classes that we have chosen. So we got 7.2. Now, ma'am, you rounded it up again. Once again, when we are talking about frequency distribution table, if we have a decimal form here, we have 2/10. Therefore, you are going to automatically round up the whole number. So instead of 7.2, you will have 8. Okay, so our interval now, or our class width, is 8. What do we mean by class width? In layman's term, class width is when we count from the smallest data, like for example 118, up until its maximum value. Okay, so this is our step number 4. You write down the lowest value for the first minimum data value. So the lowest value is 118. Okay, step 5. We will now add the class width to get the next lower class limit. So to get the highest value of the category, you can subtract 1 from the class width and add that to the minimum data value. So in here, in our solution, we have 118 plus 8 minus 1 is 125. Now, this one now is our first interval. We have 118 to 125. The easiest way there is, diba, we know that our class width was 8. So you will just count 118, 119, 120, 121, 122, 123, 124, 125. Okay, so you have 118 to 125. Next, you will have 126, 127, 128, 129, 130, 131, 132, 133. This is the common thing to do and the easiest thing to do rather than adding and subtracting it. And then you will continue until you reach the highest limit. So the last value or the highest value that we have was 154. So you need to count from the lower limit from the previous class up until you reach 100. You reach the class that would include the highest value. So since our class value is 150, we cannot 154, we cannot end at 149. So we will proceed with 150. Then count again until we have 157. So in this interval, 154 is already included. That means you have to stop now. So in our step 6, you will just now count the number of items per class. Then you put the total in the second column. So in here, in this interval, we have 118 to 125. We have 4 numbers that are included, which are 118, 123, 124, and 125. Now for 126 to 133, we have 6 items. So we have this one, 127 up until 133. That makes it 6. So see, it's easier to pick it out because we have arranged them by order. So continuing, we have with this interval 134 to 141, we have 136, 138, and lastly 141. Now with this interval 142 to 149, we have these 2 numbers here included in that interval. And lastly, with 150 to 157, we have 2 numbers, which are 150 and 154. So that's it for today. If you have any questions, feel free to comment there below. If nakatulong ang video na ito, don't forget to give it a like and do subscribe kung hindi ka pa nakapag-subscribe. See you in the next video. Happy learning!